terribly sad day for all of the family, loved ones, friends, colleagues of both Nathan Cirillo and Patrice Vincent. We've all seen the pictures of these beautiful guys, as Don Cherry would say. And our hearts really are with all of them.
All of our parliamentarians back on the Hill this morning in an emotional and very candid moment for our Prime Minister, Stephen Harper, speaking about the two soldiers who fell this week. Terrorist attacks taking their lives in such a far too cruel way. Of course, on Monday, warrant officer Patrice Vincent was killed in Montreal, and yesterday on Parliament Hill, Corporal Nathan Cirillo murdered in cold blood at the tomb of the unknown soldier in Parliament Hill and our war memorial. For more on them and their lives, I'm joined by our Sun News contributor, Paige McPherson, who's in our Toronto studio, and my colleague from the Toronto Sun, Chris Doucette, who's our courts and crimes reporter and is in Hamilton right now, of course, where Corporal Nathan Cirillo hails from. I want to start with you, Deuce. For starters, thanks very much for joining me. On a personal note, you and I have both served in the military. Your reaction to how things have unfolded this week with two soldiers killed?
Thanks for having me on, Adrian. As a veteran, I was just absolutely sickened yesterday. I was literally sick to my stomach all day thinking about the reality of what had happened to Nathan Cirillo in Ottawa and that whole incident unfolding. You know, I think that, like a lot of people, I had hoped maybe the first incident in outside of Montreal there with the warrant officer was sort of maybe just one nut job, so to speak. And to see this happen yesterday, it was just heartbreaking. Yeah. Especially doing that job, as you know, it's a job reserved for only the finest soldiers, and only a select few get to do it. So,
absolutely. And it's a job that was specifically for reservists to volunteer to go and stand on guard at the war memorial. It's quite a coveted thing for a reservist to be able to do, Chris.
Right, so he would have been there, you know, very proud, as I've heard from people who know him. He was a proud soldier, but this would have been one of the proudest moments in his career. And then to have that happen, it's just shocking, for lack of a better word.
You know, we've been. It's Monday seems so far away at this point, Paige, but we can't forget that another young soldier, a soldier was killed, another terrorist attack because of the events as they've unfolded. Patrice Vincent should also be very much at the forefront of our minds right now as well.
Absolutely. And while we look at Nathan Cirillo, he was, you know, a younger guy right at the start, really, of his career. On the other hand, Patrice Vincent, he was at the end of his career. In fact, he was only months away from retirement, his family told media, which just really adds to the heartbreak, I think, of this story. A 28-year veteran of the Canadian Forces. He also was a member of the Joint Personnel Support Unit, which is an office that helps injured veterans and current soldiers. So to be in a role like that, and then of course have something horrific like this happen himself, I mean, and to have been involved in the military as he was since 1986 for so long, and then just be months away from retirement. I mean, you know, I would hail all of veterans as heroes, but certainly, you know, this has just come to such a tragic end for both of these soldiers.
You know, Chris, right before you and Paige joined me, you know, I started with the clip of our Prime Minister. I mean, he often is criticized for being too cold and too rigid, but that was a moment when he stood up this morning. I think that millions of us Canadians felt exactly the way he did. You, right now, as we speak, are in Hamilton. Give us a sense of the mood around the city of Hamilton right now.
Yeah, I've been to both the armory where Cirillo was based, where his unit is based, and it's just a flood of people have been streaming by there. You know, a huge pile of flowers and messages of condolence. People who knew and loved him, as well as many complete strangers, just not knowing what else to do but to stop by there and somehow, you know, feel like they were doing something. Everybody is just in disbelief, I think, and there's a lot of fear I'm actually at the Cirillo family home now, waiting for family members to arrive back here, anticipating it may even be Cirillo's mother who comes out and speaks to us. So that could happen at any moment. But meanwhile, there's plenty of neighbors here coming by as well and expressing their
it's not easy being a reporter in that situation, Deuce. I know you've done that far too many times when you do have to go speak to a family member. This is quite a rare circumstance. It was a terrorist attack. And so it just is that much heightened, the emotion and the anger and the angst around what is happening. I'm curious to know from your information, are you aware if the family is going to speak? I know you guys are waiting, but we also know that the perpetrator of this terrorist attack, Bibo, his mother has issued a very public statement, apologizing and having more sympathy for the victims than she, of course, does for her own son. She admits that she hadn't spoken to her son in nearly 5 years. They had a lunch together recently, but in 5 years they haven't spoken. Is the Cirillo family, obviously family and friends are around. Has anybody said anything at this point?
The only thing I've been told so far is one family member, a woman, came out and as she was walking to her car just said that the family is choosing not to comment at this point, that they want to leave the talking to Cirillo's mother and that she does want to speak. So that's all we know. But it's definitely interesting, that statement that came out from the killer's mother.
I do not envy Bibo, Mrs. Bibo Page. I know I'm a mom, and you try to raise your kids to be good, productive members of society, but bad things happen down the road, and something clearly went wrong. We know that Bibo had quite a long list of run-ins with the law, convicted on many occasions, but it must have taken a lot of courage, though, for her to write that statement, to say, I have more sympathy for my son's victims than I do for my own son. That's a killer for a mother.
Absolutely. And it really, I think that actually Prime Minister Harper really hit the nail on the head when he said yesterday that these acts are incomprehensible to most of us, but they are a reality. And that's sort of reflective, I think, of the ideology, because how as a parent or any Canadian can you possibly understand the ideology that has influenced these horrible acts? And I agree, it was very brave of his mother to come out. Family of Patrice Vincent has also come out, and you know what, on social media, if you're judging his family's reactions, it seems angry. They're very angry particularly because both of these terrorists in question, and I know they were just really referring to the first one, obviously that ran over Patrice Vincent with his car. He was under surveillance. I mean, they had their passports taken away. They were under surveillance by the Canadian government, and Vincent's family really expressed anger that law enforcement, whether they had their hands tied or for some reason they couldn't do more to prevent this.
Absolutely. All right.